Take two. I'm going to present a lesson that's a bit outside of my niche and wheelhouse. I've been thinking about this for several days. I don't have the ability to edit, re-edit, cut, paste, and all that with videos, so I'm going to swing from the hip with some notes. And the topic is varieties versus errors, with the focus on varieties, not errors. If I can keep this under 10 minutes, I'm going to be surprised. But bear with me, and I'll give you some terminology, maybe a few examples, a little bit of satire, and kind of clear the muck. Those two terms are used interchangeably a lot by collectors, and it's not correct. Basically, an error is something that's unintended at the U.S. Mint, either through human or mechanical mistakes. While variety can be both intended or unintended, where the difference occurs between two particular coins of a date and mint mark. So let me say that again. Errors are unintended, either human or mechanical interaction at the mint. Sometimes it might only be one coin. Sometimes it may be a series of coins struck with the same unintended human or mechanical mistake. Varieties, again, could be intended or unintended. We're going to focus on varieties. There's four major classifications of varieties. You have varieties where there's a date and mint mark variety, and I'll go through that. You have missing mint mark or design feature varieties. You have a big population of repunched mint marks. There's experts in that field that I'm going to give you links to some of these experts that I know personally or don't know that can explain better and get you in the right direction. Basically, you got to decide what your interest is. If you just say I'm doing varieties and errors, you could be 30 years learning this. That's fine. It's your hobby. It's your collection. It's maybe you want to find some of this stuff and turn it into money. That's what we do. The last classification of, did I miss any? Varieties. Date and mint mark varieties, missing mint mark design features, RPMs. That's the three big ones. So let's go into detail on each one of these. Most novice to intermediate collectors, beginning dealers can memorize the big boys as far as date and mint mark varieties. I know where I misspoke. We have date and mint mark varieties and we have double dyes. They're two separate things. So if I revisit, there's four main categories of varieties: date and mint mark varieties, double dyes, missing mint mark design and features, and RPMs. All right. Now that I knew I was going to step on my ass here. I'm trying. If you have a red book, the red book lists the major date and mint mark varieties and double dyes. They've been in there since the beginning, since they were discovered. Most of your collectors with a little bit of knowledge and passion will memorize those. What's one that every album needs? Think about 1960. You got a 1960 small date, large date, and you got a 1960D small date and large date. So if you wanted to have a complete set of the mainstream varieties in Lincoln cents, you need 4 coins for those 2 dates. The next one, that's a big boy must have. Oh, as far as those 4 dates from the 1960, none of them's worth a whole lot of money, and even in BU red, not much at all. When you get to 1970, there's a small and large date. That's one of the most confusing. 1970S, one of the most.
Now, James, bring on those babies.
Excuse me. That is one of the most difficult varieties to master. I can point you to people who have made incredible videos giving you the 3 or 4 diagnostics to tell the difference. It took me a while. Once you find one, you'll quit telling yourself that it's a small date when it's not. There's several tricks. This is not a lesson on individual varieties. This is just pointing them out. You have a 1970, we're doing business strikes, 1970S small date, 1970S large date. The small date's the one you want to find. Now we get to the mess that nobody wants to discuss. Nobody wants to discuss this because 1982 they changed the composition of the metal in the Lincoln cent from a copper coin majority copper coin weighing 3.1 grams to a zinc plated copper weighing around 2.5 grams. So right there, you already have some varieties if you just did a 1982 and 1982D. But not only did they change the composition partway through the year, they changed the font on the date itself. So you have a large and small date. So you think, okay, Kenny, so, oh, if you had 2 times 2 times 2, that's 8 possibilities. Yeah. The one that you're looking for that you should not waste your time is a 1982D small date copper. I think they found 3. The total mintage for those dates is about 11 billion. Companies put together these sets back in the day to help you put them in your book right. You can search them, you can weigh them, you can know the difference between large and small. It's not that difficult. That's kind of fun. It's a pain in the ass sometimes. Notice what slot they don't have. These are just 2 aftermarket sets. There's no 1982D small date copper. Look for one. Call me back in 100 years and that's all you've accomplished and you still haven't found one. I knew I'd get off on a tangent on that. That's your basic date and mint mark varieties, the main ones. There's others. When you get into, I think I will talk about that because I found a few of these. These again are listed in the Red Book. In 1992, proof strikes, they messed up and used business strikes for just a very few pieces. About 18 coins have been found. That's probably not one you're going to find. Very, very rare. This CAM or close AM for 1992 and 1992D is the rare one. Flash forward to 1998, 1999, and 2000 Philadelphia. They messed up the other direction, and business strikes were mistakenly made with proof dies, and they are WAMs. Wham! Wide AM. You can almost see those with the naked eye, even if you're this blind. Rather than the A&M touching in America, there's a small gap there. Remember, 1998, 99, and 2000, business strikes. The uncommon one is the wide mint mark. They're out there. I found quite a few of those. So there gives you that touches on all the major varieties that everybody should know. And let's get into the next interesting topic. Where am I on this? I'm almost at 6 minutes. Double dies. Come on, people. What's the one that started the coin craze way back in the 50s? 1955 double die. Before that, there was a 1917 and a 1936 double die. They're not as desirable, but they're very, very valuable. Not as much as the 55, but you could potentially find one of those. Search in a bag. Somebody might have missed it. I'm not going to tell you not to search. Later on into the memorials, the Red Book lists these. Most collectors know them. Most dealers look for these. 1969S, 1972 Philadelphia, 1983, what's that, the double ear, I believe, 1984, and then 1995. Whenever a new year would come out, I was involved in at some of that time, and the word got out that collectors had started finding, for example, 1995 double die. Everybody was searching because it might have been a $200 coin until we started finding bunches of them. Then it's probably a $50 coin, but it's a hell of a lot more valuable than a 1 penny coin, right? I named them. That's basically it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 of them. Next classification of varieties are missing design features, missing mint marks. What happens there is the mint started overuse their dies that stamped or pressed the coins, and some of the design elements did not show up in the coin. What's the big one everybody knows? Worn die, well-used die, 1922, no mint mark. There's no D whatsoever. There's another variety for that year where there's a very weak D. In fact, there's 3 main ones. But that is the one that got everybody thinking there's some good stuff out there. I know this is supposed to be about Lincoln cents, but two of the other best known ones, of course, is the 1937D three-legged buffalo nickel. There's now another one out there with, I think, 2 legs. I'm sticking to the main ones, trying to stick to pennies. 1982, no initials, Philadelphia JFK half. They're out there. The die was heavily polished, and the initials on the back are not visible. That's a cool one to have. I think some of the albums even recognize that now. What's another there? 1982, no mint mark, Philadelphia Roosevelt dime. They're extremely uncommon. That's a $200 coin. You can still cherry pick those. But that's basically the big boys where the dies got filled with grease or they got worn out and the design didn't come out. So part of the design or the mint mark is missing. Last but not least is a big category. I'm not going to get into this. There's 24 experts out there. I'm friends with some. I'll give you links. Repunched mint marks. RPMs. Not going to talk about OMMs and over mint marks. They're in the red book too. D over S, S over D. There's not many of those. Not in Lincoln cents. But repunched mint marks, I learned something today from Chris Hurley. Up until recently, I knew this basics. The mint mark was hand punched into the working dies, which means if it's a little off center or it bounces, that's your repunched mint mark, or a tilted mint mark. There's dates out there where there's tons of this. What is it, 1960 and 60D? There's over 114 recognized RPMs. There's been a book just written on that date. You could try to collect all 113. It's a exploding market that's been here to stay for a long time. If you don't have a microscope and you don't study and you don't use places like Variety Vista or Wexler's, you got no chance. Going on Facebook and just saying, is this an RPM, gets annoying to us. I'm not an expert on this. I can go to, Jesus God, I can pull out my loop with these eyeballs. I can pull out my loop, 3X, 8X, and look at the mint mark and pull up on the computer Variety Vista and say, yeah, that's a match, or maybe. If you want to make money on that kind of stuff, you're going to have to send them into ANACs and take advantage of their economy rate for variety attributions at, $14 a coin? 10 coins for $100 plus $4 for the attribution? Don't piss your money away on the other two grading services. They're not experts. They're not. Hell, they don't recognize a lot of the varieties. All right, there's my sales pitch. There's my shameless plug for ANACs. All right, I'm wrapping this up. This was a mess, but I do want to show you a couple I have, since those are errors, not varieties, and everybody knows what the 82s look like. This is a one-of-a-kind coin, folks. Think about your lesson. Varieties, you have date and mint mark varieties. You have double dies. You have missing design features. And you have RPMs. What I have here, let's see what you've learned, because I'm not going to give the answer away. How many different varieties are on this epic, one-of-a-kind, found by me in my inventory? What I have here is a 1932 missing mint mark. It's a 1937D with a missing mint mark. 3-legged buffalo nickel with an extra leg. Right there you have it, boys and girls. Hope you enjoyed this, and I hope I made some bit of sense trying to break down something that's way outside my niche and wheelhouse. I'll send the links, attach the links to the various sites that I recommend, YouTubers, Facebook groups, a few books. Anything that Scott Travers and Q David Varas wrote is worth your money. I'm at 15 minutes. Good Lord. I even picked this one up. I don't know where I got it. Of course, everybody knows cherry pickers. Ken Potter's Found in Pocket Change, Get Rich with Pocket Change. and of course a red book. Have a good evening.